In the famous ancient mythological encyclopedia known as the Library, attributed to Apollodorus, there is a story about Icarius. One day, out of boredom, the god Dionysus went for a walk in the forest, where he accidentally encountered Icarius.
"Hi, mortal! I offer you the most exquisite drink in the world, straight from the royal vine, so to speak."
Ambrosia?
No! I even gave you a hint. It's wine, and I'll teach you how to make it.
That's how Icarius became the first winemaker in history. He decided to treat the resulting drink to shepherds. After drinking it, they felt a strange feeling.
"You poisoned us."
And they killed poor Icarius. So he also became the world's first victim of aggression caused by alcohol. Greeting, wanderer. Today, we will journey into the somber realm of excess and explore the only way to survive there, temperance. Even on the most ancient cards that have come down to us, such as in the Visconti-Sforza deck and the deck of Charles VI, we see the same depiction of a maiden pouring something from one jug to another. What's the connection to the story of poor Icarius, you may ask? The thing is, this maiden is diluting wine with water. The ancient Greek poet Euenus wrote,
"The best measure of wine is neither much nor very little, for 'tis the cause of either grief or madness. It pleases the wine to be the fourth, mixed with three nymphs."
In other words, water in wine is necessary to stay sober and avoid excess, and the best ratio for this is 3:1. Etteilla, the creator of the first tarot deck used exclusively for occult purposes, placed the card Temperance in a special group of Aristotelian virtues. In some versions of Etteilla's deck, an angel is shown adding water to wine on the Temperance card. There are other variations of this card. For instance, here, a woman holds a bridle in one hand and a cup in the other. In another version, there is neither a cup nor a pitcher, only a bridle in her hand, but in the background, we see a wild elephant. The elephant here symbolizes the power of wild nature, which can literally trample you if not held in check. War elephants have been mentioned for quite some time. In the ancient Indian epic Mahabharata, real battles involving elephants took place in the 11th century BC. Ancient India had no shortage of elephants, so they were regularly used in battles. There were also war elephants in the armies of ancient China. According to Edward Schaefer of the University of California, in the army of the southern Han state in the 10th century, there was an entire corps of war elephants. There was even a special military position, literally translated as legate digitanti and adjutant of the gigantic elephants. In the 2nd century BC, Hannibal also used war elephants in his battles against the Romans. This did not save him, and Carthage fell. If we talk about elephants as weapons, it wasn't about their combat skills. They were used for psychological warfare. The sight of these giant animals, controlled by humans, was enough to send the enemy fleeing. In 1190, Danish crusaders encountered Saracens using war elephants in battle for the first time. The psychological attack didn't work on knights clad in iron armor. In honor of this victory, King Christian I of Denmark founded the Order of the Elephant in 1462. The theme with the elephant in the cards reappears only in Tarot Lenormand after Atteilla's deck. Although the famous fortune teller herself had no connection to this deck, it appears logical because she repeatedly referred to Etteilla as her spiritual teacher. But while the elephant on the Temperance cards is more of an exotic inclusion, the angel appears regularly. Here are just a few examples where an angel is seen diluting wine with water. We also see an angel on the Temperance card in the Rider-Waite Tarot. He imbued this theme with a completely different meaning.
The angel pours living and dead water from one cup to another. This symbolizes that the flow of life forces in nature never ends. However, it is necessary to constantly mix opposites to sustain life. Moreover, the Temperance card is not randomly placed immediately after the Death card in the deck. This embodies the classic theme found in various world mythologies. By combining living and dead water, one can bring the dead back to life. The triangle within the square on the angel's chest symbolizes the union of the spiritual and the material. The triangle is a sign of fire, and the square is a sign of earth. Above the square, 4 letters form the tetragrammaton, the secret name of God, sounding Yahweh.
Aleister Crowley was the complete opposite of Waite. He was never close to the ideas of temperance or Christian symbolism. Crowley was a rock climber, a spy, and even proudly carried the nickname, the Beast, given to him by his own mother. In his life, everything was excessive. That's why in his own deck, instead of the temperance card, he introduced the card of art. Here's how he described it.
This card complements and completes the Lover's card, whose more primitive name is the Lovers. It depicts the culmination of the royal wedding. The black and white figures have now merged into a single androgynous figure. Even the bees and serpents on their garments have formed a union. The red lion has turned white, increasing in size and importance. The white eagle has also grown and turned red. The scene illustrates the stage of the great work, that is, the alchemical mystery of blending contradictory elements in the alchemical cauldron. The cauldron is depicted here as golden or solar, since the sun is the father of all life.
In his Book of Thoth, Crowley wrote that both the Lover's card and the art card are a concise representation of the book The Chemical Wedding of Christian Rosenkreutz. This is a canonical text for Rosicrucians, and in the wedding described in it, there are real prototypes. It was Frederick V of the Palatinate, who later became the King of Bohemia, modern-day Czech Republic, and Elizabeth Stuart, who could have become the Queen of England at the age of 9 if the gunpowder plot led by Guy Fawkes had been successful. If anyone understood extravagance, it was this couple. They celebrated their wedding on Valentine's Day in 1613, and it was so lavish that numerous poems and plays were dedicated to it. For instance, Shakespeare wrote The Tempest. Public celebrations, including fireworks and staged naval battles, thrilled the people. The festivities lasted for 2 months before the newlyweds departed for the electoral Palatinate. However, their excesses led to a tragic end once again. Inspired by the splendid celebrations of Frederick and Elizabeth, the Bohemian aristocrats, who had the right to choose their ruler, elected the couple as their king and queen. This decision did not sit well with Frederick Habsburg, who had already been crowned 2 years earlier. Consequently, the royal couple was soon dethroned and exiled for the rest of their lives. Due to her short reign, Elizabeth Stuart was later referred to as the Winter Queen. However, she defended her family passionately, corresponding with all the royal courts of Europe, earning her the nickname Queen of Hearts by the end of her life. That's all, Wanderer. Even temperance is good in moderation.